I don't know if I'm the only one, but this daylight savings time, this time has really exhausted me. Not to mention it's like gloomy and cold here, which is why I get to wear my cozy shawl today. I will see you on the other side. Hello and welcome to this episode of Gary Knits, Gary Rides, a Craftivism podcast at the intersection of making things and doing good. My name is Gary. I am a knitter and a crocheter, and every couple of weeks I come to this little corner of the YouTube Yarniverse and share with you what I'm working on, as well as some things that have come through my feed on how we can all take our love of making things and do a little bit of good in the world with them. I hope you're well. You can always find me on social Instagram, social media like Instagram, where I am Gary Knits, Gary Rides. Over on Ravelry, I'm Gary Knits and Rides, and I am Gary Knits on Blue Sky. As I said, I hope you're well. It has been an incredibly busy and exhausting 2 weeks plus since my last episode. I'm a little bit late in getting this done, but like I said, it's just been a bit of a whirlwind with some work stuff early on and then some fun stuff. But in the last couple of weeks, what has been going on besides the continuing decline of the United States? We've been able to enjoy a couple of, in fact, just got back literally moments ago from the LA Philharmonic. We had a couple weeks ago, we got to see Dudamel conducting a Mahler symphony. And then today was a really, really fun German woman conductor. And I'm going to forget her name. Her first name is Joanna, I think. But she was just really fantastic. And it was the Tchaikovsky violin concerto with a violinist, Augustine something, who I've forgotten, German American, and Schubert Night Symphony. So it was a nice day, but something between the between the sort of calming second, third movement of the Schubert, and then pizza for lunch has put me in a very sleepy mood. So hopefully this will be relatively quick because I might go take a nap. It's a cold and rainy day. It's been rainy and cold for the last few days. Cold, Southern California cold. It's in the 40s, and with the wind, they said it felt like in the 30s. So that is quite cold for us. So I was able to bust out my Geo Gradient shawl, last year's, not this past year's, but 2 years ago, West Knits Mystery Knit Along, and it also sort of fits with the upcoming St. Patrick's Day theme, I suppose. So we've had that. We've also had a couple of theater things. We went to see a show that's headed to Broadway. I think it came from London. It's called Old Friends, Sondheim's Old Friends. It's basically a musical review. So it's an evening of Sondheim songs. Can't really go wrong with that. Bernadette Peters and Leo Salonga were the two sort of main stars. It was fun. I don't think I would have paid money to see it other than it was in our subscription. But it was a fun night at the theater. And then we saw a really fun show called Fake It Till You Make It. I don't know if it's going to go to Broadway. It was a show that was postponed due to the aftermath of COVID, where our local big theater company had to shut down one of their theaters for a couple of years because they'd lost so much money, but they reopened it and put the show back on. A really funny farce written by a Native American playwright, kind of dealing with identity in the non-for-profit world. It was very, very funny. And the woman who plays the mom, oh my gosh, I'm terrible right now with the names. The blonde woman from Modern Family, she played kind of one of the leads. So it was a really cool show, fun. Got to go to my friend Tracy's boutique over here by the Port of LA a couple weekends ago to put together squares. She's been collecting squares of any size to assemble into blankets that she is then donating to people who have been affected by the wildfires here in California. I will keep that down in the show notes, the information on where, because she's still collecting them, where you can send those in the show notes. And here is a QR code. If you are not watching this on your mobile device, you can zap that QR code and get taken right to a document with all the links of everything that I'm going to talk about today in today's show. So I was able to go hang out for a couple of hours there, stitch together some squares. I think we completed her first blanket, and I delivered about 18 or 20 squares. I'm going to make some more. I think she's doing this again. She's trying to do this sort of once a month, so I think she's going to do it again at the beginning of April. So hopefully I'll have some more squares to be able to take to her. But if you are in the southern LA County area and would like to join us on a Sunday afternoon or Saturday or Sunday afternoon and piece together squares for blankets, we'd love to see you. Again, all the information will be linked down below in the show notes. And then the other big thing that happened over the last couple of weeks, I had been alluding to it, but we went out to the desert to the big tennis tournament that is still ongoing. We were there for opening day. This is the BNP Paribas Open, better known as Indian Wells. And we'd never been before. We had tickets to go the year that COVID hit. So it happens every year about this time. And so it was just a couple weeks before everything got shut down. They canceled the tournament that year. And we got a refund on those tickets. But we decided friends of ours from the East Coast wanted to come out somewhere warm, and so they decided to go to Palm Springs, so it kind of worked out where we could go hang out with them for a couple days. My folks came with us for a day of tennis. We did the evening session and the day session. First time, beautiful tennis facility there at Indian Wells. It's the second largest tennis stadium in the world after Arthur Ashe Stadium in New York for the U.S. Open. So it's after the Grand Slams, it's the next big tournament. So all the big names are there. What I didn't realize was that on the opening round, all of the top 30 players on both the men and women's side have a bye, and so none of them were going to play. So even though we had tickets in the main stadium, which I thought was going to lead us to be able to see, Carlos Alcaraz play the lowest ranked men's player, or something like that. That didn't work out because none of those guys played the first 2 days. So lesson learned for next time, we won't go to the opening day. But it was a lovely. The weather was nice that day. My parents had a good time, so that was a fun thing. I said I'd been alluding to it because one of the two, but one that I was most recently working on, whips, was meant to be used at the tennis tournament. When we get into the knitting stuff, I'll let you know how that went or how it is going. But overall, it was a really, nice trip out to the desert. The desert is not really my thing. I mean, I like Joshua Tree, but Palm Springs itself is not really my thing. It's kind of like the suburbs in Southern California, and I live in the suburbs of Southern California, so it's just not that different from home. But we got to see the tennis and we got to see our friends, so that was cool. In terms of Craftivism, a couple things I want to again, and I'm going to keep it linked down below, mention the 5 Calls app and website. The best thing that we can all be doing right now, and one of the easiest things you can do ever, is to be constantly calling your senators and your representatives. Don't bother trying to call someone else's senator or representative. They don't care, but they do care if you call them. And given what just happened today with the continuing resolution and the capitulation from Chuck Schumer and 9 supposedly Democratic senators, these calls are more important than ever. So we need to ramp up the frequency of those calls as we continue into this budget fight, because we can't have another round of caving in like we just saw. So I want to highlight that. They make it so easy. I know a lot of people get nervous that I don't know what to say. They give you scripts, and I just called a couple days ago. It literally took like 30 seconds for each of the phone calls once they picked up. So have a look at 5 calls. Not really crafting related, but I just want to keep mentioning it because, you know, it is something that we can be doing. On the crafting side, a couple really fun things that came across my feed the last couple weeks. And again, if you see something, share it with me. I love to pass these things on. Dye Mad Yarns, who's an indie yarn dyer, is doing a knit-along. Now, the knit-along started a couple of days ago, but it's going for 40 days, so you still have plenty of time. But she is selling kits, and I think there are 2 different colorways on her website, links down below. And it is a fundraiser for abortion access. It is... the pattern that they're doing is called the My Uterus Cowl. It kind of looks like a doodle cowl. It's like it's stranded color work. Here's a picture of it. I'll pop a picture of it up here. She has 2 colorways for that. You can get the pattern from the Brooklyn General Store website. The designer is Catherine Clark, and proceeds from the pattern sale are going to be donated to the National Network of Abortion Funds. And then Dye Mad Yarns has put together 2 kits that are also going to be a fundraiser. This proceeds of the kit sales are going to be split between abortion funds in the state of Ohio, which is, I assume, where Dye Mad Yarns is located. So it looks really cute. She has a Discord server up as well for folks who are participating in the cowl. Again, all the links will be down below. But I think it's a really fun looking pattern, and I think it's a great way to raise some money for important healthcare services that are being cut or outlawed in a lot of places. So that's one. The other one is another group collaboration, or several different dyers are participating in it. But what it caught my eye was from Cesium Yarns, who had participated in one of my Destash for Good sales last year, the big one I did with a bunch of overages and stuff from a bunch of different dyers, and they had had a lot of yarn that we were able to sell through that. But she has doing a fundraising skein right now for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. I believe that she is a survivor of thyroid cancer, I think she said in her newsletter. And so she's put together this, I keep doing, no, this way, let's do, this skein of yarn, which is called Visions of the Future, and 20% of the sales are going to be donated to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, and it's in collaboration with a couple other dyers, so Frogget Yarns, and I'll flash up the their different colorways. Frogget Yarns, Rising Tide Fiber Co., Terrapin Fiberworks, and Marinated Yarns all have come up with colorways, and at least the Cesium, I don't know about the other ones. The Cesium's going to be up for pre-order through May 22nd, and those are all fundraiser skeins for the Leukemia Lymphoma Society. So really important, especially now since Elon Musk has decided that we no longer need to fund any sort of cancer research through the government, that it's more important that he gets his tax cuts than kids' cancers get research dollars spent on them. So it is going to come down to a lot more private funding, at least for the near term, at least till we can get through the midterms and throw these jokers out. So go check those out. Again, links for everything are down below, but those are just 2 of the really fun things that I thought that I saw that came across my feed over the last couple weeks. Again, if you see something, shoot me an email or a DM on any of the social medias, and I will try to feature it on one of the upcoming episodes if there's still time for it. So thank you for all the tips when you get them. Let's get into the knitting. So FOs. I actually have some FOs this time, and I can't believe it, but I'm getting down to I think it's all small projects right now, or pretty small projects. And it's been great because I've been able to get through things, and that's given me a nice sense of accomplishment after all the blankets and everything from the fall. So the first thing I don't have with me because I already sent it off, but here's a picture of it. This is the Garter Ripple Baby Blanket. This is using Bernat Baby Blanket yarn, which I described on my weekly Zoom the other day as sort of like knitting with a shredded up Muppet. It's not my favorite yarn to product to knit with. Is, it doesn't have much give. You're using really big needles, so it goes relatively fast, but the stitch definition's not great. Someone recommended, Marianne, who is a prolific knitter and crocheter, mentioned to me that she thought it worked better for crochet. So this yarn I found when I was doing my big yarn purge, a month or so ago, getting ready for the last Destash sale, buried in the back of one of the many yarn hiding places in the house, were five skeins of that yarn, that I'm sure I bought at Michael's or Joanne, many, many years ago, thinking, I'll make baby blankets for charity. Well, that's exactly what happened. I decided to purge. I couldn't sell it in the Destash because the shipping on that yarn would cost more than anyone would be willing to pay for it. But Friday Morning Charity, who I did a accessories drive for Knit the Rainbow with last fall, their drive for this quarter was, as I mentioned last time, for a group called Operation Shower. It's for a group that organizes baby showers for military families who have a family member deployed and might not be able to do a shower on their own. So I popped that in the mail this last week. The Friday Morning Charity drive was ending, I think, tomorrow on the 15th, and so I was able to get it in just under the wire. It's a really, as much as I did not love working with the yarn, it really makes a very nice, soft, squishy, easy care blanket for babies, which is why I'm sure this yarn is so popular. So I'm going to try the next one. I have 3 more skeins, and I think the next one I'm going to take Marianne's advice and try to crochet. Each of the ball bands has like a pattern on it, and I think that one does. I think there's a crochet pattern in there, and hopefully I can, with 3 skeins, 2 skeins knitting, made a decent, baby-sized blanket. So I assume that with 3 skeins, even though crochet is going to take up more yarn, that I'll be able to get a decent-sized blanket out of it. And I'll just find a local charity or hold on to it until I can look ahead at Friday Morning Charities. They've already announced, I think, who all of their partners are this year. So maybe I'll look ahead and see if another one is baby blanket related. And somewhere down, probably after the summer, I'll pick that up and start working on that. So that was one of my FOs. The other one, which is definitely the longest standing FO, is, and we'll call it an FO. I still need to block it and weave in ends, but I just finished it last night, and so I wanted to show it. This is my bubble bandana by Stephen West. I say this is probably definitely my longest standing FO. These yarns were all mini skeins that I picked up at Flock Fiber Festival in Seattle last fall. So a couple friends and I were up there. None of us were really trying to buy a bunch of yarn. I mean, we all bought some yarn, but I think I was already at that point thinking ahead to this year and like wanting to purge and wanting to get rid of a bunch of yarn. But I still wanted to, support my friends in the dyeing community, and also have something to remember the show by, because we were having so much fun together. So we decided, let's all get mini skeins, and we'd been talking about single skein projects or these little shawl or little scarves, and someone mentioned this as a great use for minis or scraps. And so we just picked up mini skeins from different dyers at Flock and decided to make the wrap, or the bandana. It's more like a little scarf, but theirs have been done for months, and mine just now got finished. But they didn't knit 3 blankets in the fall. So, but I love the way it turned out. I think I have mentioned this before. I love the pattern. I love the way it looks. I did not love making it. As you can see, the backside, I have a gazillion little ends now to, not going to really weave them in. I kind of did a little weave and Steven action on them for the first couple of stitches, and then I'm just going to grab them with a crochet hook, pull them into the I-cord edge, and then snip them off and just hope for the best. But because there's no way I'm going to take a darning needle and thread 50 gazillion little things. But I don't love, it's not so bad if in the backside, but the front side's much nicer. But love the product. Did not love the process with all the constantly changing yarn, but it might be fun with like a gradient or self-striping even, but definitely not one that is going to go to the top of my let's make another one list. So that was done, and I was glad to make as much progress in. I think if you look, sorry, I threw it over there. So last time I showed it, which was probably a couple episodes ago, that's where I was, and so I wasn't even to the halfway point, I think, and so I did more than half of it, and once I could spend some time on it, this was my Thursday library knitting group knitting for the last few weeks, and moved pretty quickly. So I was glad to get that done, which then sort of opened me up just to start something new. Which we'll talk about in just a second. The other thing I finished, and I just finished it in the car ride down to the symphony today. I was just down to the final decrease rounds. This is the Oslo hat by Petite Knit, and let's see if I can. It's a little snug on me. So this is done in Wandering Flock, Mermaid Parade, fingering, and then the Mermaid Parade fuzzy lace weight. I think it's a mohair silk. Love this color. Love how it turned out. Like I said, it's a little tight on me. I kind of thought it might be when I cast it on. The other thing that I didn't realize was that I thought it was just a double brim, but it's actually like a triple brim. So it is very, very cozy, and probably too cozy for me to ever get much wear out of it. So I think that this is going to find a new home. I know my sister has raised her hand, but someone that lives in a colder climate, I think will get more use out of it. But I do love the yarn, and I think that maybe if Geraldine at Wandering Flock ever dyes this colorway up again, that maybe I just grab a skein of the fingering weight, or maybe even like a DK weight, and just make a more appropriate weight hat for my climate. But it was a fun knit. I was a little confused by the process, because she has you at one point kind of you switch which side of the fabric you're working on. I don't want to give too much away because it is a paid pattern, but you switch which side of the fabric you're working at. So the inside, you basically kind of knitting it inside out. And when you first start doing that, it looks really strange. But once you get to the end, and you fold up the brim, it makes total sense. But it is sort of a when at least for me, when I was going through it seemed a little overly complicated. Again, I thought it was a double brim, so you got to that instruction. I'm like, what are we doing here? But then our Tuesday Zoom group, which again, there's a link in the show notes. So every Tuesday, Valorie, Creations by Valorie, Valorie Fisher has for the last couple of years hosted a Tuesday evening Zoom knit night for anyone who would like to join. It's a fun group, and so Kara from my knit group said, no, it's a triple brim. It'll all be clear at the very end, and sure enough, it was. So, but it's a very crisp, clean, tidy little hat. So, do recommend the pattern, and it went pretty quick, I thought, for a fingering weight hat. So that is the Oslo hat in Wandering Flock's Mermaid Parade. So this next one kind of falls between a whip and an FO. So this is the Worn That Way hat. This is the hat that I was working on for the tennis tournament. We have tennis tournaments, outdoor Philharmonic rehearsals, and that's probably about it for the summer in terms of things where like I'm outside in the sun for significant periods of time, and that's not a great for me. So I thought this would be, it was like it's kind of a classic sun hat shape, and I wasn't sure exactly what to expect. So it's knit in, it's patterned by Wool and the Gang. It is knit in their raffia yarn, so it's like a paper tape yarn. And I got I'm like 3 rounds from the end, and I had it ready to go. I took it out to the desert, and I could have finished it up that night, or before we went to the tournament. But when I put it on, so here it is. It doesn't look like much, because it's kind of shapeless until you put it on your head, and even then. But so not terrible, but it's a little high here and probably a little loose around. And I think some of the brim issue floppiness will get resolved when you're supposed to end with a slip stitch row, and I think that'll tighten it up. I also have some milliner's wire that I can use in the final round. But you're supposed to probably go 3 or 4 more rounds. As you can see, there's kind of a lace bit, and then you're supposed to do another lace bit before you end. I think I would not want it too much wider than this. It gets a little too, Audrey Hepburn, Pretty Lady, Pretty Woman, whatever, Julia Roberts kind of hat for me. So I think what I'm going to do is rip it out back up to the top of the crown, and take out a row of the crown, knit the body of it probably an inch or so shorter, or crochet it an inch or so shorter, and then start with the brim, and then see how the slip stitch edging works to stiffen it up. If not, rip that back out again, and then put the Milner wire in. But otherwise, I think it'll actually be a great hat for the use I had. It just, as written, the proportions were a little off for me. So we're gonna put this on hold. I'll show you another hat here in a second that I'm working on. That's going to become the priority for the next outdoor event, which is coming sometime in June, early June. And if I get that one finished up in time, I will probably come back to this and try to see about doing this one as well. So that's the Worn This Way hat, Wool and the Gang, raffia. Back to the drawing boards a little bit on that one. So that hat I mentioned is the Supersonic hat by Martin Up North, another crochet hat, another kind of bucket sun hat type of thing. Here's the picture of it. I've shown it before, but here's where we are. I got the crown done and have made what's going to be kind of the turn down, and I think I may have had as much of this done last time, but it all looks good to me so far. Maybe a little big, but we're gonna, since it's in cotton, we might be able to shrink that up a little bit in the washer dryer. So I've switched to this kind of grassy green, and I just put it aside because I didn't want to take it with me to the desert. I didn't think it would be easy to work on at the tournament, etc., etc. And I have 3 other colors. So I have the grassy green, I have a white, I have pink, so white, pink, and then I have like a sunflower yellow. So I'm not sure. I thought about doing it in all the colors, but I'm thinking now maybe I'll just pick one, mainly have it the blue and the green, and then just like have maybe one sort of pop of colors, kind of leaning toward the pink. The other piece of it is that if I like it the way that it works at the end of the day, I could just make another one with different colors, and so I could have a couple of those if it works out. And it's all being done in, sorry, forgot to tell, it's all being done in Nitpicks Kotlin, DK weight, and the pattern is written so that to get your sizing, you switch different weights of yarn and hook sizes rather than stitch counts. So this is going to become now a little more on the front burner. I will let you know how that works out. So those are the only two. Well, I have my walking hat, but because of the weather situation here, there hasn't been much walking, so there hasn't been much work on that. That's a sockhead slouch hat that's using a bunch of scraps from a self-striping sock yarn as a color with a gray background. If we make some more progress on it next time, hopefully I'll be pretty close to done. I haven't measured it to see, but I think I'm getting pretty close. So those are kind of the whips that have been in progress. I have been able, because I finished some things, to start some new things. I had said that I wasn't... I don't know, where is it now? Oh, poop. 1 second. Let me go find it. I'll be right back. And we're back. So this is living in my really cute little bag from Bolivia. Thank you, Valorie Voigt. And I had said that I wasn't going to start another pair of socks, even though I've been completely smitten by sock knitting, bitten by the bug, but knew we were going to the tennis tournament. Didn't really have... They're very strict about what you can bring in, so everything has to come in like a plastic bag, and all I had was a Ziploc bag because I didn't feel like going out to buy a plastic see-through tote bag for my very limited going to sporting events. So the Ziploc bag worked fine, but I didn't want a project that had like 2 different yarns. Certainly didn't want to take the bubble bandana, which had 7 different colors of yarns and was going to be a mess. Even the Oslo hat with the 2 balls, I just was like, something single skein, a single ball of yarn. And so I said, you know what works? Socks. So I decided to cast on, before we started the drive out to the desert, I cast on a new pair of socks. It is the name of the pattern is Socksploration something, but it's basically Earth Tone Girls shadow wrap heel pattern, the one that walks you through the process of the shadow wrap heel. I'm keeping trying new heels with every pair of socks I make, tweaking here and there to try to get to my perfect sock or perfect vanilla sock. So I cast these on and basically had the cuff done, and then took it to the tournament, and I was like, oh, I don't even need to worry about how to do this shadow wrap heel because I've got this whole leg to do. There's no way I'll get to the heel. But I guess when you're just sitting and you have nothing else to do, you're just watching tennis, you make a lot of progress. So I actually got to the heel, and then at a break, I think we maybe gone to get something to drink or lunch or something, I pulled up the YouTube video and sort of watched that, and I was like, okay, I get what she's doing, and took it back to the seat, and was able to do the heel that day at the tennis tournament, and then have not really worked on it too much since because I have wanted to save it for things like riding in the car or sitting at the Philharmonic. So I took it with us today and basically got all but the toe done, and now I'm on the final rounds of toe degreases, and we are going to have sock number 1 from the Shadow Wrap Heel pair. This is Woolens and Nosh, her Targhee sock, Michelle's Targhee sock base. It's a joy to work with. This colorway is called I Brought You Flowers. So I have gone from a 72 stitch to a 68 stitch. This is now a 64 stitch, just to see what feels best. The 68 definitely felt better than the 72, so we'll see if this one feels a little tighter. I think I mentioned last time what I'm realizing that is a 20 gram mini doesn't give me enough to do as much of a cuff and a heel and a toe as I want. So this time, this forest green, which is also the spacer color between the stripes, is the mini that came with the sock set. So I did 4 rows of twisted rib and then went right into the main color sock yarn. So some of the ribbing is in the striping as well. And I just wanted to test like how much of that contrasting color I could use in the ribbing, and still have enough to do both all the heels and toes. And so did that, then did about 1.5 inches of the twisted rib, came down to the shadow wrap heel, and we're off to the races. So for anyone who hasn't done it, very, very easy heel. Similar, I mean, it's a short row heel, so it is similar to the other one that I've done, which is the Fish Lips Kiss heel. I will have to go back and kind of compare notes one versus the other in terms of exactly what the differences are. But this one was pretty straightforward to do. Even while I was sitting and watching tennis, I was able to knit the whole heel. I think I did get off one stitch somewhere, but I just kind of fudged it and made it on. Speaking of fudging it, and so I get down to today. I'm knitting along here, and concert's over. I don't knit during the concert. If you had any questions, I knit right up until they tell you to silence your phones. I knit at halftime, and then I knit in the car. So I'm not disrupting the concert with knitting. But got to the toe, and so I was going to put in the second marker, halfway around, so I knew which was where to do the decreases. And my stitch count was off, so I was getting 31, and I was like, I can't believe, and I didn't really think too much because I was like, I wouldn't have been able to do ribbing properly if I had an odd number of stitches, so something must have happened somewhere else. And I thought, oh, maybe when I was doing the heel and I said that there was a 1 stitch mistake, so maybe I was like, oh, maybe I somehow like decreased it away, and then I would never have known, going round and round and round. So I just added a stitch before I started the toe, and it was immediately decreased away when the next round came around. But then I was working on just before we got home, and I was like, what's that little loose bit there? Like, what's going on there? And I sort of grabbed it with my finger, and sure enough, drop stitch way back here. But because it's nice, and this targhee is nice and sticky, it didn't unravel out, so I'll just have to do a little post-op or post-finish surgery on that. So I'm going to finish this up tonight. I'm going to go ahead and cast on the second sock, but not do any work on it. I've got another trip coming up, and have a plane flight. So I think this is perfect. This is a perfect thing to pack to take on the trip. So I will do that, and then hopefully by April 1st, I will have another pair of socks and can move on to the next one. I'm really enjoying not just the knitting of them, but now I'm always disappointed when I go to put my shoes and socks on if I don't have a pair of hand knit socks to wear. I'm really enjoying wearing them, especially in this kind of chillier weather. So those are my shadow wrap heel socks in I Brought You Flowers colorway from Woolens and Nosh. But I started something else. So if you will recall, when I did my plans for the knitting year, I wanted to make a couple of t-shirts, so sort of short sleeve fingering weight sweaters, but I wanted, I'm on this quest for just a simple, like if you could get like a Hanes t-shirt in knitted pattern form. And so I won't rehash it because you've probably seen it, but I've found some vintage patterns. I found a couple of things on Ravelry that might work or will be kind of close, not exactly what I was looking for, but I figured I gotta just jump in and try to start working on one, and then see where I need to tweak it. So that is what I've done. I have started. It's called the Mohit, I think is the pronunciation. Here's the pattern. Fingering weight raglan, so not like a Hanes t-shirt because it's not a set-in sleeve, but a pretty basic t-shirt shape. I don't think I will have the sleeves quite as long as that picture showed, nor do I think I will do the texture at the cuff of the arm, into the arm. So I'll probably just cut it off, maybe do some ribbing around the arm cuff. I guess that's the cuff, even if it's way up here. And I decided I was going to use one of my Stitch Out Loud yarns from last year's collection. So I cast it on. It's not going to be great to show because there's so little of it done, but I've done 12 or 14 rows. And this is my first ever raglan, so that's going to be a fun new thing for me. This will only be my only second ever pullover, and I think because it's a little different construction, it'll be different from the last time. So I'm not really understanding why, but maybe it will become clear. But they have the pattern has you knit the first bit flat and then join in the round. I'm just a couple of increased repeats away from the join. What I'm doing, because of the yarn, well, luckily it was right there. Here's this is the yarn. It's called Ride Safe, Be Safe by Pearls Before Wine, up from Walla Walla, Washington. And it is on the Robusta base, which is 75-25 superwash merino and nylon. Again, fingering weight. But because of the way that it's dyed, I thought probably best to alternate skeins because I wanted to try to avoid, some pooling. It is going to pool somewhat just because of the way it is. And I'm hoping that the fact that you're knitting back and forth and then switching to in the round doesn't make it weird or obvious that has happened. But we'll see. And if it is, it is, I suppose. So I'm alternating skeins right now. And then I think when I join to go into the round, to try to avoid some of the laddering, if I was changing the thing in the same space every time, is I think I will do helical knitting. So I've been doing that on my sockhead slouch. I find it kind of fun because I'm always sort of like waiting for when the changeover moment comes around. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. I mean, hopefully with the raglans, if anyone has any thoughts on this, please let me know. My concern is that, when you're helically knitting, the place where you're changing sort of rotates around, and I'm worried that at some point it's going to get caught in the middle of one of the raglans, and that might be weird, but maybe not. So if anyone ever has done that, alternated skeins in a raglan top-down sweater, let me know how that went. But yeah, so I'm hoping that I can get this joined up, and then this may be also kind of the other project that goes with me on the trip to work on. Once it gets going in the round, I think it's pretty mindless for a while. So maybe that'll be a good project. I have some time. I'm trying to get this done for summer vacation. So until the summer I have to try to get this done. But hopefully it works out. I did not, I swatched for it. I didn't swatch in the round. Sorry. But I swatched for it thinking I needed to probably go down, no, I think I swatched using the what they said, but my gauge was way too tight. So I went up a needle size, and it's not a great bit to be measuring up, but just sort of looking at it and trying. I look like I'm getting pretty close. So hopefully it won't be too oversized. I'm not too worried about it being too small. I think if anything, it'll be too big. But we'll see. The good news is I won't have a lot of long sleeves to have to knit. So hopefully it'll go pretty fast. I was saying to someone the other day, I was like, yeah, I have I really need to get this done by June. And they're like, oh, by June, like you'll be done, way before then. So who knows? It just, anytime it's like a sweater type of project, to me, it seems like, oh, I need to give myself like 8 months to do it. So maybe I'll surprise myself to the upside in terms of how fast it gets done. So that's the Mohit. And that is really it in terms of other whips. I mean, I have a long-standing kind of sit by the TV. That's my habitation throw. Maybe once I make some more progress on that, I'll show that again. But it feels like I'm in a very comfortable spot. I do kind of feel like I need to start something else. I do have a July deadline on a stuffed animal, and so maybe I'll pull that out and start working on it's knit in pieces, so I can just do a piece here, a piece there. But yeah, and then the other stuff that I have is not really until fall deadlines. So we'll see. I don't know what to do. It feels a little weird for me not to have any major project on the needles, and so I guess I'm going to count this t-shirt as sort of like my major project. So that is basically it for the knitting. As I said, I think this is going to be a relatively short episode. In terms of acquisitions, I am doing very good doing very well on my stash down. So I'm holding tight at negative 235 skeins. So that was all the Destash in January. And then this month I am relatively flat between things coming in and things going out. There hasn't been much really on either side, but I did have a couple of things come in. 2 skeins of sock yarn from Michelle at Woolens and Nosh. So this is her I Read Banned Books colorway, and she was doing some sort of a knit along or something with someone with this colorway, but I just thought it was fun, and I love the name of it. And then, I commented on her post. This is her February sock club colorway. It's called Adrift on an Island or an Inland Sea. And to tell you that I gasped when I saw this colorway isn't understanding. This is like, she might as well have just named it like Gary's sock colors, because this sort of gray and denim-y blue with like a little pop of something in there is absolutely perfect. I mean, maybe I think I'm gonna. The next socks I do, I have another sock tube, and I'm gonna do those first. I think before I start a real knit pair. But these are definitely gonna get used very quickly, because I just absolutely love this colorway. But I do want to use up some of my Valkyrie yarns colorways over here to do something fun. So many options, so many choices. And the only other thing that came in the mail. So if you'll recall, there was the Moroccan summer shirt crochet pattern that I was debating over. I really think it's cute. Really could not get gauge with the yarn that I thought was being recommended. Tried to reach out to the designer and didn't really get anywhere. Because it says in the pattern, it says lace weight held triple for sport weight, but the gauge that I got was way off, no matter how small I went on the crochet hook. And so I decided I didn't want to do the brain damage of trying to figure out math on crochet and like making it fit, and that I would just find another pattern for that yarn. And a couple of people sent me some crochet sort of polo-y camp shirt kind of styles. So if you see anything, let me know. Sport weight, would love to see it. And so what I decided was I would just find something else for that yarn, and then at some point I would maybe try fingering weight yarn and see if I could get closer to the gauge, or because when the designer responded to me, he said it was written for lace weight. And I said I thought it was lace weight triple, but I never heard back. So anyway, Knitpicks had an email came out a couple weeks ago, and it was a one-day thing where you could get free shipping no matter how little you bought. And that's always kind of my hurdle with nitpicks, is that, it'll be something like, oh, I broke a needle tip. And I'm like, I don't want to spend the $10 on shipping for something that costs $3. But I said, if they're going to give me free shipping for, buying a single thing, why don't I try one of their crochet threads? Basically, it's the mercerized cotton crochet threads. I'll just pick up see if I can get gauge with the recommended hook, and then I'll know, and then it can go back in the queue. Not for this summer. I'm not going to go out and buy all the yarn again, and I've got plenty of other things I can work on for this summer, but maybe for next summer I'll try it. So that's the other thing that came, is I got a skein of this Curio number 10 thread from Knitpicks, 721 yards for 100 grams. So sounds like it is very, very thin. But I'm going to try that with the recommended crochet hook, see how close I get. If it gets pretty close, why is this thing not focusing today? Then I'll know what to do. And so at some later point, if Knitpicks has a sale or they do another free shipping for something, I'll go ahead and buy all the yarn in the same colors, because it comes in a bunch of colors. I'll buy the same colors that I had originally bought in that other sport weight yarn, and I'll give that a go. So those are the only two acquisitions that I've had this month, and I don't know that I have. I guess my Woolens and Nosh March colorway will come at some point, probably before the next episode. But other than that, no real plans for yarn shopping, because I think I'm pretty set for my at least the foreseeable future in my queue. And the other big projects that I have coming for the year, I already have the yarn for. So I think that's it. Thank you all for spending some time with me. Again, if you've enjoyed this, please like and subscribe and help the algorithm push this out to new people, so that we can continue to build this community. I hope wherever you are getting over this daylight savings time, which I said at the beginning, this year it usually doesn't affect me. But I think the combination of it hitting the same week as this sort of gloomy weather has really zapped my energy. So once I get through this weekend, which is full of activities, I may need a week of hibernation to recover. So be kind to yourselves, be kind to each other, and I will see you in a couple weeks. Thanks so much. Bye.